Excuse me. Welcome back to Campfire Cooking Another World excuse me. Campfire Cooking Another World with my absurd skill anime review episode number 9. We are here reviewing the 16 episode series, the Dungeon with Ready-Made Food. Yeah, it's also the 4th episode of season 2 of the show, which means I now have officially 8 more to go. Yep, kind of like in the case with my Stay Assassin, obviously exceeds the hero. This one also has pretty much about the same exact amount of episodes. Yeah, well, in the case here, our class will finish a week prior to this one, the other one. And what about Gap the Adventure Isekai? That one, I think they'll finish up like a week after these two will. But I think we'll finish it probably in the same month. I'll figure out basically at that point. So, we start with Makoto, Fel, Sue, and Dora-chan. They arrive at the dungeon they've been teasing the past couple episodes. And they just eliminate some goblins. Very quickly, they basically race down to the 10th floor, but they want to go further. And of course, they encounter some more monsters. And then, of course, they come across a scene that we have like a room with a boss who is a spider. Now, the whole thing of like a party having to wait for another party who just gone through, this is something I've seen in actually another anime. You're probably thinking, which one, you might ask? Harem in a Labyrinth and Another World. Yep, I saw in that one. And I'm trying to think here because there's been a small number of anime that I've come across basically have dungeons like this. They have boss rooms, and that's the only one I can think of that I've seen that has this. And of course, they battle the Tarantula with Dorito Pizza. And then they come across, after having some food, with the Iron Will Party, who were last seen back in episode 3 of the first season of the show. Which, of course, they had to leave the country. Let's reference the last season of the show, because you might think, watch season 2 is like, aside from the fact that, now, in case you're curious about the online grocery thing, like, that does not come into play until, like, later on in the episode. Because, of course, basically, he has on the box. So, of course, he has some Wyvern, and, of course, he has everybody else. Really good. And then, right after this, basically, at the all this food, then, of course, they come across a treasure chest. Which, after using Analyze on it, it turns out that it contains poison. And according to the goddess, his blessing makes immune. Opens it up. Nothing. Come across a second one. A monster one. Okay, this I have seen in one other anime that has a monster treasure chest. The only one I can think, actually there's been a couple of different anime I can think of off the top of my head that had this in a dungeon. One is the most obvious one is Firene. The most common meme by Firene is her sticking her head inside of a treasure, which is a monster. Yep. And the only one I could think of is probably Konosuba. But that's it. That's the only ones I can personally think of per se. And of course they have Makoto defeats the monster. By the way, the Transfer picks himself up, and then right after this they arrive at another floor of dungeon where it's basically a forest. Now, this is very common in a lot of anime that feature dungeons. We have a floor with basically a forest. Excuse me. Some examples. The Hidden Dungeon only I believe this one has a forest in it. There is Izaranjigo's Dungeon. As a matter of fact, the forest is the most common floor to use in the first couple seasons of the show. Let's see. I would say the Unwanted Dead Adventurer. This one has one. This one too. This one has a forest in it. Oh. Even given the worthless appraiser class, I'm actually strongest. That's another one I've come across where I can think of where You have an anime that has a fantasy anime has a dungeon and has a floor where it's a forest. And of course, they beat some monsters, have some food. Of course, Fel, Dora-chan, and Sui raise levels thanks to food, and Makoto raised very little, not like mass amounts. And I was very disappointed, and that's pretty much the episode in a nutshell. Pretty good here. You probably would think, like, is there any like new voice act this one? No, not really. But overall, really good. Also, the the elf who was seen in the opening title sequence, who was seen in the previous two episodes, he is not here. Yeah, because he was the material they adapted from. That's primarily the reason why he's not here. Despite the fact he's supposed to be a main character this season, but we'll may see him again soon. So that is pretty much it for this particular video. Oh, before I forget, did Iron Will basically bring up the fact that, because here's the thing, when Makoto last saw, he just had Phyllis familiar. He just had Sui and Dora-chan, and of course, basically, Sui is popular with one of the theme members of Iron Will. And those of you curious, though, is it the same voice cast from the previous season? From what I can tell, it is. I don't think there's any change per se. And also, the heroes summoned with Makoto are not, like, they only appeared in technically 2 episodes. It's like, yeah, they're high school students who just happen to be summoned. And aside from one-off episode, you see, despite the fact they're summoned heroes, they're not the main character of the show. No. They appear very rarely in the series. They do, in fact, from what I read, they do, in fact, flee the country they were summoned to, because the fact the country is just too unstable for them to be in. And also, there was the Ultra version of the story where apparently the male hero took 2 female heroes as his wives. And I'm like, you lucky bastard. Yeah. But that's definitely going to be it. Okay, so I thought I'd have time to watch some. I'm watching some coming right now, but I want time to review it. Probably not until tomorrow. The other reason I can't do them more tonight because it's getting really late. That's primarily the reason why. So I will see you all tomorrow for Kamen Rider, Hero Class. I think that's it. Yep. See you next video. Bye.